Let me come through.
For restoration and reinvestment in social safety net programs, specifically human and health services. So we have a few asks for you.
Only a few?
A few.
Well, we also have to thank you too,
Yes,
right?
yes, we also have to thank you for your time and for supporting childcare
And
CalWorks. But we ask for your commitment to Dedi-Cal.
Dental. Yeah.
Dedi-Cal. And that's been cut since
It is
09.
absolutely a priority.
We have many stories and SSI. And so we have many stories around the room that can really portray the need for Dedi-Cal and all these other human and health services to California.
Well, especially with dental care, you know, a lot of the community has diabetes, and with that comes the complications of dental, vision, and podiatry.
It does. My father-in-law was a lifetime juvenile onset diabetes.
Okay, so
You know, learned a lot about the disease from him. My father had diabetes, didn't become insulin dependent until later in life, and his father lost his leg as a result of diabetes, so I'm very familiar with the disease, with its progression, and its interrelationship to obesity and epidemic of obesity.
And then if you think about it, if you have a toothache or you're having some dental issues, you're not going to eat right, you're in pain, you're already diabetic, you're not eating right. And then that just adds more complications. So it's really a need for dental care, because if you can treat it before it becomes a crisis state, first of all, you can save money because you're not in urgent care, and you can help that particular client, that person. So I think that reinstating dental is extremely
I
important.
couldn't agree with you more. It's very high up on the priority list.
And you've been a champion. You know, most a lot of kids and folks, parents that goes to college and with kids, you know, they miss a lot of school, you know, based on toothaches and just pain. You can't concentrate.
Yeah.
And so that even costs the state more money because it'll take them more time for them to graduate, you know. And the welfare to work, a lot of them go to school, and a lot of them go to job training and things like that. And so if they're not going to school because of a health issue dealing with their teeth, then, you know, it sets everybody behind. In the long run, it costs us more money.
So, just real quick, I just want to say, it sounds like we're preaching to the choir with you then.
I hope so.
As
I hope
far as
so.
the dental plan.
So far, I'll let you know if you're singing a different tune.
Okay, go ahead, Rebecca, I'm sorry.
Yeah, building on what you said, even if they make it through the vocational training, who's gonna hire them?
No teeth.
Yeah, no teeth.
Or bad breath, right?
So bad breath.
Uh-huh.
And restoring.
I know I wouldn't. Bad breath is the bottom line. We have a rule in the office here.
Well, the restoration of Dedi-Cal is only $166 million. And I say only because the surplus is over $1 billion. It's actually maybe a few $1 billion.
Like 5 something like so.
Well, we have about $800 million that we can actually spend of what the legislative analyst calculates. I think is $3.2 billion total, but we part of that, a large part of it, goes to under Prop 98 to the schools, and by the time you're done calculating, I think it's about $800 million that we think we have. And as you're, I'm sure not surprised to hear, there's multiple priorities to address. you know, how this all shakes out right now is happening at a different pay grade from me. But the courts is one of the big priorities. It also affects poor people. You know, it affects everybody in the state pretty dramatically, and that's been a real strong priority for me. But the dental care has come up a number of times. I intuitively get that, understand it, support it. I hope we can get to it in this legislative session. I'm very confident that the economy is going to keep growing now, and so if we don't get to it this year, it's going to be on the top of the list next.
So you're on board with it, and can we ask for your commitment to restoring dental care?
Can ask for. I give you my commitment. I can't promise you that it's going to happen in this budget year.
Okay.
I frankly think that it's doubtful, given the multiple priorities that we have. But I wouldn't take my word for it, because these discussions, like I said, are now happening with the conference committee that is working on budget issues, and a much smaller group of the speaker and the pro tem, the budget chairs from each body. And what I've learned, I've only been here for 6 months, is that at the end of the budget negotiation process, we aren't really asked what our opinions are. We're going to be told this is what's happening, this is what the final budget looks like, and you will vote for it. And it's an up or down vote on the whole big budget. It's an interesting process that I'm still learning about.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that was one of the things that we were up here a couple of weeks ago, and that was one of the things that we were talking to some of the legislators about, is because so many of the other members are new, and we feel like we don't want them to think that this is the norm, that the way the programs are being funded, this is the norm. So much was cut, and a lot of the members may not realize how drastically some of the things were cut.
Well, I do, and you know, I want to say I don't want to imply that I have no input into the budget process. We have caucus discussions, we have discussions amongst members, so we do have a fair amount of input. But at this point in the progress of the budget, it's a diminishing amount of input, and the discussions are primarily taking place at a higher level. But the reason I say I may have a better understanding than some is because prior to being here, I was in local government in Santa Monica. I was the mayor of Santa Monica, and I saw all the cuts being made. I experienced while Santa Monica was doing okay, everything that was happening at the state was getting worse and worse. And so I saw the progression of cuts. I saw what it did to schools and to social services and to the courts and to education. And we're now, the way I look at it is, we're kind of at the bottom, working our way out of the hole, and after being out of the hole, on to bigger and better things. But first we have to restore, as we've done with education this year, restore that funding, and we have to start to restore fundings to the other priorities that we have. And it won't just be a 1 or 2 year process. It took a number of years to sink, and it's going to take a few years to climb out of the problem we have. But we have to continue to keep the economy functioning well, so that we can take care of all these priorities. In 6 years, Prop 30 goes away, so all of that money that is coming in from Prop 30 is going to disappear, and we need the economy to take over and propel us past that. So, I think we'll be able to, but we've got a lot of challenges ahead of us. Fortunately, as new folks like me, we're here for up to 12 years, so you get to see my ugly mug year after year, and you can just keep coming back to the same person and try to knock some sense into my head.
And I think that's one of the things that we really want to do, because we not that knock some sense in here, but I'm thinking that because there's so many new members, I'm thinking that maybe what we need to do is continually let them see us and let them hear our asks and understand that, first of all, we're not going to go away, and second, the importance of reinstating some of these cuts that have happened. So maybe it won't happen this year. You know, hey, you know, we concede, or no, we don't really concede, but you know, we'll deal with that. But do you think we should just educate some of the other legislators, or I mean,
I think you need to talk to as many people as you can in the building, and build up constituencies outside. Continue to grow your coalition, and stay honest. I mean, one of the things, there's a lot of noise up here. You know, so we hear from lobbyists, we hear from groups that come in, you know, and it's just a kind of a constant onslaught. But you have to be part of that mix to make sure that your voice is heard. So it's good that you're here. Now, there's a fine line between being a pest and, you know, me wanting to go get a restraining order against you. So somewhere, you want to be somewhere between pest and restraining order.
Yeah, I think too that, you know, I think what makes us a little bit different too is that when we come up here, we're saying thank you, we're asking for something, but we also have solutions to some of the problems. We don't just come up here and say, this is going on and blah, 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 blah. But this is what's going on, and this is what I think you should do.
You're in a competition for scarce dollars. And I think that there's you know, there are very difficult decisions that we're asked to make to, you know, work on one priority, not necessarily to the exclusion of